day. And I was like, why are you asking me this? That's so weird. But, timing of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, story of my journey of where I am. Um, I mean, I guess there's so many different avenues that you can take that. And I was kind of reflecting on this, Dano, after you proposed the question of like, hey, let's do a podcast. I'm like, yeah, let's do that. Um, so like specifically, how did I get to Wisconsin? Or
Like you could start from like your fitness journey, like
okay,
going to college in Iowa,
yeah,
uh, all the
all the things,
coaching in Iowa,
all the things.
all the
Okay,
things.
how much time do we have? Just kidding.
50 minutes.
Oh man, I better talk fast. I'm just kidding. Yeah, so grew up in Iowa. Like I've always just been small town girl. Like I like it. I never had that need to like, I want to get out and like move to the city. I'm like, nah, I'm good. Like I like, I like nice people. I like the feeling welcomed, and like when I wave, people wave back at me. I enjoy those things, the small things in life. Um, so yeah, how I kind of like I was a three sport athlete in high school. Ran track, played softball and volleyball, and then I took stats for wrestling. So just kind of involved in every season of sports. And then I didn't do anything in college because I decided to be an RA, and going to a D1 school, like little 5'4" Sabrina. I'm not tall enough to play volleyball. So um, I took stats for wrestling at UNI as well. Um, and then, I just, how you like gravitate towards certain groups of people. Like I gravitated towards the athletes. Being an RA in the dorms, I had a couple athletes on my floor. There were some wrestlers and track people that lived on the floors above and below me. I had a couple classes with some volleyball players, and I ended up living with them a year, my junior year, and still friends to this day. And I don't know, it just kind of gravitated towards those like-minded sorts of people. And then as a part-time job while I was in college, I started teaching fitness classes. And, it's funny looking back on those, like kickboxing and boot camp, like those are like my jam. I remember my boss, I would go in and I would tell her like, okay, here's my availability. You can put whatever you want on it, except I do not want step classes and I don't want spin classes. And she's like, Sabrina, you are the only instructor that I have that does not want those two classes. Everybody else is fighting over them because those are just boring to me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if I'm going to be stepping up and down on a step that's in place, I'm just going to go outside for a hike. Also, I do not want to ride the bike with the brakes on. That's just dumb. Maybe also why I don't like the assault bike, but whatever, it's fine. So, so yeah, like that's kind of where that got started. And then, after graduating from college, that's when I first tried CrossFit because I was training for a job, and I was actually so I was living, okay, where was I living? I was living in living in Cedar Falls, and I was training for a job in Cedar Rapids. And one of the girls that was proctoring my training and one of the guys that I was training with were talking about CrossFit. And I was like, what's CrossFit? And so she's like, actually, this week is Bring a Friend for Free week. Do you want to come with me to class today? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So, like I had workout clothes with me. I was planning on doing a little hotel workout. So I had like, like basketball shorts and a t-shirt. And I just say that because when you walk into a CrossFit gym, nobody wears basketball shorts and t-shirts. So very out of place when I first walked into the gym in my like baggy clothes. And I don't remember what the exact workout was, but I know that it was a bear complex.
Okay.
Like never, my cat's going to join us. Probably he doesn't like it when I'm on my phone. So if he pops in and out, I apologize.
It's okay.
Oh, there's this little ear. You want to say hi? Oh, no, he's being shy. Okay. Anyway. So maybe it was just, getting the first impression of CrossFit. I fell in love with the barbell from day one. And then, yeah, the next day at training, I was like, okay, you said that bring a friend for free week was all week. And she's like, yeah, but I'm not going today. And I'm like, why not? And she's like, aren't you sore? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, yeah, I'm not going to go. And I'm like, can I still go? And she's like, yeah, you made friends at the 4:30 class. Go ahead. So I'm like, okay. So then I just went by myself. And so then I went back to Cedar Falls and started my job, and turns out like everyone in the office did CrossFit. And I'm like, wow, this is like kind of a popular thing. Mind you, that was 7 years ago. Oh my gosh, that was 7 years ago. Dano.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, yeah, 7 years ago. And so then when I went back to Cedar Falls, I actually everyone in the office that I went to CrossFit Kilo.
Okay.
And so then I dropped in there, and I remember like one of the first workouts had double unders in it. And I told them, I was like, I was just at a week of training. Like I'm literally 4 days into CrossFit. And they're like, oh, okay. And like the workout had double unders in it. And I didn't have a jump rope, so I borrowed one of theirs. And in high school, we used to do double unders. And so I just knew how to do them. And it was super cool when I just started, and everyone's like, how do you know how to do that? And I'm like, brand new to CrossFit. And they're like, it's neat to like be good at something that literally everybody else is good at, and you're this brand new person. So I was like, yeah, I can do that. We did these in high school. And they're like, it takes people months to get those. And like now being a coach, I'm like, wow, I totally understand. Like, yeah, that's a really difficult thing to just like click for people, So yeah, then I decided to go back to school for massage therapy. And then I moved to Cedar Rapids, and the gym that I dropped in at, I joined that gym, and was going there for a few months. And then I was like, you know what? I really miss teaching fitness classes. I think I want to do that again. So I was like, is there a way to like, how do I get in on coaching CrossFit? And so they were like, you can certainly coach CrossFit. Like, let's figure this out. So then it was like, go get your L1. So then I went to my L1, and afterward, like, I was like, even if you have no intentions of coaching CrossFit ever, everyone should go get their L1. It's amazing. Like, what a wonderful experience to just learn the ideology behind CrossFit, like where they come up with things, why we do what we do. And I don't know, it would just, like, I met people at my L1 that I still talk to today. So it was really neat. So then, okay, what did I do after that? So then I coached for about 6 months. And then, like, back to Sabrina as a little girl. I was originally born in Colorado, you know this.
Yep.
But like growing up in Iowa, when I was little, we would come to Wisconsin for like four-wheeling in the summertime, snowmobiling in the wintertime. And like Wisconsin always just reminded me a lot of Colorado. It's just, instead of mountains, we had a lake. And so but like outdoorsy, how much nature there was, like, it's just beautiful. So I told my mom that I'm never leaving Little Lake Mills, Iowa. And then I went to college, and I'm like, see ya. But then opportunity came up to move to Wisconsin, and I was super nervous about it because it just was, a really big change in my life. And I didn't really, like, I liked what I was doing in Cedar Rapids. I didn't really hate anything about it. At the time, I was working 6 part-time jobs. And I'm pretty sure when I quit all of my jobs, I cried every single time. And yeah, then I moved. Like, the thing that sold it, my sister, I was like, oh my gosh, Nicole, like, what if this just doesn't work? Like, what if this is like the biggest mistake that I make? And she's like, Sabrina, if you hate it, you can always move back. I'm like, oh yeah. Like, just very matter of fact, my sister, like, she just very like, duh, you'll just figure it out. It'll be okay. You'll be fine. So I'm like, oh yeah, okay, you're right. I'll be fine. So then I moved to Minnesota with Mom and Rod to save some money before I moved to Wisconsin. And I lived in Minnesota for 6 months. And in those 6 months, I was like, maybe I want to move here instead of Wisconsin.
We tried so hard to get you to stay.
Because then I started coming to Cato CrossFit, and it just, like, the people there, they're amazing. And I was like, well, I don't want to leave these guys. And it just, every single gym that I left, I cried. And like my gym in Iowa, I like wrote a note and I left it on the microwave the day that we did Murph. And like at the end of Murph, I'm like, finishing the last mile and I'm coming in and I'm crying and everyone's like, Sabrina, are you okay? Like, I'm like, no, I'm fine. It's okay. Not crying because of the workout. I'm crying because I'm like, this is my last workout here. Like, just stupid. But you get attached. You love the people that you're working out with every day. So same thing happened when I went to Minnesota and left Cato CrossFit. And then I've been in Wisconsin now for over 3.5 years. And I'm currently at a gym called CrossFit Eastern Ridge. And I was here for about, I don't know, like 6 months or so. And then I talked to the owner and I was like thinking about coaching. I was like, I don't know if you guys need more coaches. And like they welcomed me on the coaching staff and it's been awesome. I love every single minute of it. Has it been 2 years already? Like almost after getting into coaching here, I was like, I think I want to go get my L2. So then I like go on and went and got my L2, and there again, just a wonderful experience. It was so great. I feel bad for everybody that's missing them right now because of everything going on. But then that was 2 years ago. It's crazy to think of.
Yeah.
And then the other work that I do here, I work in a wellness center. So when I'm not at the gym, I'm at a wellness center. So it's just like surrounded by fitness and like healthy mindset kind of people. And it's awesome, dude. I love it.
That's good.
So yeah. So that's kind of like my fitness journey, is mostly becoming a coach, I guess.
Yeah. And then how did you catch the competitive bug? Because that's how we met.
That is how we met. Yes. Competitive bug. Just I think being an athlete in high school, plus like it's in my blood. Like we're a very competitive family. It's funny when we get together at family events, just even the discussion, it'll get, I don't want to say heated, but it just, like it gets loud and really passionate. And like if you sit back and listen, it's like, like you're all on the same side. Like nobody's arguing. Everyone's just like, yeah, and like it just keep adding to it and people get excited. And it's just kind of like an innate thing, And so then when I started CrossFit and it's like, oh, hey, you can compete in this. I'm like, oh, really? Okay, then let's do that.
And I don't have to be tall. All
exactly.
Right.
I don't have to be tall. I don't have to be super fast. I just have to like do fitness. So yeah, then fell in love with competing. And how many years ago was this? Probably 3 years ago, like in the midst of moving and getting a new job and like ending a relationship, like just so many things on my plate. I was way overtraining because I was doing a competition about once a month, which is just psychotic. Looking back on that now, I'm like, how did I not die or like break something, But yeah, so it just, and I never saw competing as like a job. It was always just fun. It was always fun. And like competition weekends, I remember, so funny side story about a competition. So Granite Games, 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
4 years
when you
ago.
Guys won.
Yeah. So like I knew all this was going on, so I wasn't planning on going. So then Brooke from Cedar Rapids reached out to me and she was like, hey, do you want to do Granite Games together? And like Brooke and I, always super friendly competition. Like when we would see each other at competitions, I remember it was the circus. There was like a max clean event and like, I don't even, like I cleaned like 200 pounds or something. I like PR'd my clean. And then there's like literally 5 seconds left. And because I saw her and she had like 190 on the bar or something like that, I'm like, I got to do it, man. Like I got to beat Brooke. So I threw on some more weight. I cleaned 200. Then there's like 5 seconds left. She tosses on 205 and freaking power cleans it. And I'm like, all right, well, that just happened. So, I mean, like, Brooke and I, like, very fun relationship. And, like, obviously afterwards, like, high fives and everything. There was never any animosity or anything like that between us. So she reaches out, asks us if I want to do Granite Games. And I was like, sure, let's figure this out. So we like are scrounging around trying to find a third person. Everybody's either already signed up, they're out of town, not going, you know, whatever. And so I'm driving back and forth to Wisconsin for interviews, and I drop in at CrossFit Eastern Ridge, and how some CrossFit gyms have the leaderboard up on the wall. I'm like looking up at the wall and I see like Rachel. I'm like, huh, this Rachel girl's pretty good, huh? And they're like, yeah, she's pretty good. I'm like, does she like do competitions? Would she be open to that? And everyone's like, yeah, I think so. So the guy that I was dating at the time, I was like, she's from here? And they're like, yep. And so I'm like, so I go back and I was like, hey, do you happen to know Rachel? And he's like, why? And I'm like, I was just wondering if I could reach out to her on Facebook. Why? What's up? And he's like, we went to high school prom together. And I was like, oh, would it be weird if I did a competition with her? And he's like, I don't care. So I'm like, okay. So I send her a message on Facebook. Complete stranger. Like, she has no idea who I am. And I'm like, hey, Rachel, my name's Sabrina. I'm moving to the area. We want to do Granite Games. I see your name on the leaderboard. Would you be interested in doing Granite Games with me and my friend Brooke? Mind you, like, I use the term friend loosely. Brooke and I are friends, but it's not like we hang out. We'd see each other at CrossFit competitions, and that's it. So she's like, yeah, that sounds good. Dano, not kidding. Like, Granite Games, huge competition, very well put on. You know, people like get together with their teammates and they practice their workouts for like months in advance. We show up in St. Cloud, Minnesota, and I'm like, hey, Brooke, good to see you again. Brooke, this is Rachel. Rachel, this is Brooke. Let's go compete. So that's how the weekend started. We didn't even know each other, and then we just went and did the competition. I'm not a leaderboard checker. I don't look at the leaderboard because it doesn't really matter. And then I think that it would just get in my head, whereas if it's just like I just take the day literally workout by workout. And that time, like, I remember there was one workout, we were like in the hockey arena and we were like, okay, what's this workout again? We, you know, whatever, it's fine. So like we go and like, it just, we random selection of the three of us, but like we just played very well together and like we fit each other's like weaknesses and we filled in where we needed to and we complemented each other's strong suits. And like at the end of day 2, Rachel's like, hey, we're sitting in first right now. And I'm like, we're what? No way. And so then we're like looking at the rest of the workouts, and the rest of the workouts, we're just drooling over them. So we're like, dude, this could be like, yeah, like, so we never talked about like, it's our goal to win, but it just kind of happened. And like at all of the end of all the workouts, like we felt like we had done our best and like it felt good and we were having a blast the whole time. That's also when Rachel found out that upon getting back to Wisconsin, she was going to need surgery on her foot.
Yeah.
It's fine. I think it was, the end of day 2, she went to medical because the first workout the next day had like double unders and box jumps in it or something. Both things that like Rachel's a beast at box jumps because she rebounds and she's super fast at them. And single arm dumbbell snatches or something like that. And so she went to medical and they were like, pick up your big toe. And she couldn't do it. And so she's like, I can't, like, and they're like, we know if we tell you that you probably shouldn't keep going this weekend, you're not going to listen to us. So just Monday morning, make an appointment with an orthopedic surgeon. She's like, okay, thanks. And then sent her on her way. So yeah, so that's how Rachel and I met. I broke her foot, so that's good.
That's good.
She still loves me, so it's okay.
At least you know how to massage the muscles around it.
Yes, absolutely. I could try to make it better, but yeah, so.
Yeah, that weekend was insane.
That was nuts. That was so nuts. But yeah, you and I met at a game day competition.
Yeah, and like briefly.
Yeah.
No, it was Mankato.
Oh, it was at Oh, yeah. Yep. And then we saw each other again at championships, and we're like snapping pics like we're just besties.
Yeah, because like I was in Florida, and I was just planning on flying back and hanging out at game day. Like I wasn't going to do anything. And then Ben
Nope.
called me like 3 hours before my flight. And he's like, hey, there's an open spot. You're competing. And I was like, all right. So like I flew back. I landed at midnight. My parents picked me up. We left the hotel in Minneapolis at like 5:30. I missed the first event because we got stuck in traffic.
Dano.
And then Ben, like I walk in and I was like, yeah, I'm late, aren't I? And they're like, yep. And I was like, awesome. They're like, you
It's
didn't know there
fine.
was construction, did you? I was like, no.
I live in
And
Florida. Give me a break.
yeah, no, I have no idea what's going on in Minnesota. And then
Right.
they're like, all right, your next event's in an hour. Get ready. And I was like,
Good.
oh, what's the next event? And they're like, single unders, wall balls, burpees. It's like, I don't have a jump rope. Do you guys have a jump rope? It's like, no, find somebody. And I was like, all right. So like I ran into a guy I've met once. And I was like,
Right.
hey, can I borrow your jump rope? We're not in the same division. And we're somewhat the same height. It's like, he's like, it's going to be too short, but here you go. And I was like, all right, cool.
Whatever.
And then like competition ended. I got driven back to Minneapolis that night, or on Sunday night, flew back to Florida at like 6 a.m. the next day. And then like maybe a month, not even a month later, like this couple dropped into my gym in Florida, and hello, Dustin and Nikki. And we're just chit chatting after class because they were the only two in class that day.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, how'd you get down here from like Wisconsin? We were just talking, and they're like, have you ever heard of Game Day? And it's like, I was just there. Why? And they're like, oh, our friend Sabrina just won it. And I was like, I know her, I think.
I know her.
And so I like grab my phone, go on Facebook. I was like, this Sabrina? And they're like, yeah. It's like, they're like, she's our coach. And I was like, oh,
Oh, small world.
okay. Tell her hi when you get back. And then like I just got on my computer afterwards. I sent you a message. I was like, hey, small world.
Yeah.
Do you know
Show me
Dustin
that
and Nikki?
picture. Yeah.
Here they are in my gym in Florida.
I love it. Oh, that made me so happy. I opened my phone. I'm like, what? They're in Dana's gym? And I was like, did they know each other from before? And you're like, no, they just dropped in at the gym. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then like there's a set of twins that dropped into my gym down in Florida. And like they were filling out their waivers, and they're like, yeah, we're from, you probably can't pronounce that name. And I was like, Waukesha? And they're like,
Yep.
what? And I was like, I'm from Wisconsin. And then like I ran into one of them at the games in 2017, and I was like, hey, how's it going? It's been a
Just
while.
bizarre.
This is Wisconsin, not Florida.
Right? Yeah. So weird. So
Yeah.
weird.
It's a tiny, tiny world.
It is. It's very cool though. Very cool.
It is. So now that you're in Wisconsin, I guess, what are some of your future plans, fitness, work-wise?
That's a great question.
Take over Eastern Ridge with Rachel.
Yeah, totally. No. No, we especially like the times that are happening right now, we're just like kind of living life day by day. Yeah, future plans. I love it here. Like I'm so happy. And I know that like I've done a lot of personal work on myself, especially over like the last year and a half. And it's been a crazy ride, but like I was just telling somebody yesterday, I was working on a client, and I'm like, I sincerely can say with like 100% honesty that like if I didn't have bills to pay, like massage therapy is something that I would do for free. I love what I do. I love my job. I love the environment that I'm in. I love the people that I work with. Being at the gym, like I'm very grateful that every single gym that I've been a part of sincerely feels like family. Like these guys are my family. When we have holidays, they invite me over. Like they're who I hang out with on the weekends. Not that I like don't have that with my coworkers at work, but like the gym, it's just like, we're a special breed of people,
Yeah.
Take that how you will. But it just like when you're a part of that CrossFit community, I'm so glad for like every community that I've been a part of. So future plans as of now are just to like hang out. I was supposed to have like one of the busiest years. I had a cousin getting married. Two of my best friends are getting married. Trips going back. My parents were going to come here. Just like doing some traveling to see people. And like, obviously all that's put on hold now. So it's just, we just kind of take things one day at a time and figure it out as we go. But yeah, I don't like the future of our gym. We want to continue to grow, and it makes me so happy. That's why I was late to this, because we just had a coach's Zoom meeting, and just figuring out, how we want to come back from this and kind of what we want things to look like in the future, and being a part of that. It's very fulfilling. And just being able to add some positivity and a different perspective. And it's been great having the connections that I have at other gyms. And like you and I have been chit-chatting through all this of like what things look like in your neck of the woods, and just like,
well,
you've
right
got
now it looks like a war zone.
Right? Yeah, seriously, especially, yeah. And so it's just, catching up with people from all different parts of the world, different parts of the state, who have other CrossFit gyms, who are involved in other kinds of fitness and wellness, and just kind of how things look coming back from everything. So,
all right.
yeah.
Good plans. I like it.
Yeah, right? Nothing really concrete. I don't really know. But I'm just kind of trusting the process.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
What about competitions if they ever get back up and running?
Right?
Because Granite Games was supposed to be this coming weekend or next weekend.
Crazy? Ugh. Yeah. Well, and then like, all the changes they make to CrossFit with like the sanction events, and like, now what?
Yeah.
I'm very grateful that like I'm not on CrossFit HQ staff, and like it's not my job to figure this out. So, but like knowing competitors and like people who are competing at the CrossFit Games, and like this is what they do. So it's just, but then again, saying though, Daniel, like as soon as you told me the name of your podcast, I'm like, of course that would be the name of his podcast, because it's amazing. But I mean, like, we are, being the special breed of people that CrossFitters are, I have been saying it from the start when we have our coaches meetings, that like, I'm just so grateful that like, we are a very adaptable group of people. Like when we're faced with challenges, more often than not, I'm not saying all the time, because like I understand people get frustrated and things don't always go well, but it just, more often than not, I feel like we err on the side of like, we'll figure it out. We don't know how we're going to figure it out, but we're going to. We're going to face this challenge. We're going to take it head on. We're going to figure out a way to navigate it some way or another, and it'll be okay. However it turns out, we'll be fine. Whereas other people, you just hear a lot of adversity and like people fighting it and like all this negativity, and it's exhausting. So to be a part of a group that I'm not saying that it's not exhausting sometime, but it just, generally speaking, it's kind of taken with a different tone. It's comforting to be a part of that group. So yeah, like part of my journey, I guess, I still love competing, but it's also like, I became very comfortable with, like wanting health and wellness and CrossFit to be about overall health and wellness. Having a chance to like look back and reflect on my competition career and my competition past, I was like, ooh, I kind of overdid it a little bit. And like, I willingly would like sacrifice sleep so I could train more. And I would be rearranging my schedule so I could get in 2-a-days. And I was probably under eating. And like, I was like, health wise, at the peak of my competition career, I probably wasn't as healthy as I am now. Like now I have more balance, and there's always room for improvement, but it's just like, I set a goal. When did I set this goal? Like last fall sometime, that like, if I don't get minimum 7 hours of sleep, I'm not allowed to train the next day. Whereas before, I'm like, oh, I'm lucky if I get 4. And, like I purposefully would do things like that. And then just like the more that I'm learning and the more that I'm like researching and trying new things out and experimenting with stuff, I'm like, nope, that's got to be number 1. So it's all of these other things that it's like, yep, that would allow me another training session, but what am I really getting out of that training session if I'm training in a sleep deprived state? Or if I'm not fueling my body properly and I feel like I'm just dragging ass, maybe there's a reason why. Like, listen to those things, Sabrina. Pay attention to your overall health and wellness. And so, like, just being on that journey of like self-care, self-love, self-respect, like, it's been an eye-opener. And I still really enjoy competing, and I'm not going to say that I'm done with it forever because I enjoy it a lot, but like it's for fun. Like, I don't want to turn CrossFit into like a job. Is it cool to get paid to be good at fitness? Hell yeah, it's cool, but like that's not why I want to do it, So
Yeah.
like the friendly local competitions that I just get to go and like be late for warm up because I get caught up talking to my friend Dano. That's what I want it to look like.
I've been late for so many things
all the time.
at competitions.
all the time.
Oh, I was supposed to be warming up for the last half hour.
Whoopsies.
I guess we're going out there cold again.
Again.
No
It's
big
fine.
deal. Like, there was like that competition where we met. I was talking to someone.
Yeah.
And like, mind you, I was on a flight the night before, barely slept because I was in a hotel.
For
like,
sure. Probably less than 12 hours before.
Oh, so like I landed 7 hours before what was supposed to be my first event, which didn't take place. So then like the second event, I'm just standing there talking to someone, and all of a sudden like Franny's yelling at me, and he's like, Dano, we're going to go brief the workout right now. And I was like, oh, that's right now? He's like, yeah, you go on the floor in 5 minutes. I was like, huh, good thing the first movement's jump rope. It'll get my heart rate up a little bit.
It's a little warm up just in the workout.
Yeah. And he's like, are you ready? I was like, I have a jump rope. I don't remember what I'm doing.
I love it. But you adapt. You adapt.
And then you just go out there and have some fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what would you say to people right now as life advice that are maybe struggling with the time that they have to like be home, not get out? Maybe they're like maybe they're just taking a break from everything, or they just feel like they can't be as healthy because they're at home. What advice would you give those people?
Yeah, so many things. It's understandable, and like especially when we're thrown the like unexpected that people have been thrown, like it looks so different for everybody. Like I don't know, I guess even in this situation or not in this situation, the biggest piece of advice that I have for anybody is like just be present, just be. Like don't set any, I don't like to say the word don't. Like try to shy away from setting an expectation for yourself of like, I should be doing this, I should feel this way, I should be eating this. Now that I have all this time, I should have a 6-pack abs by the time quarantine's over. Like get rid of all of the expectations and just allow yourself to just be in the moment. So if that means that you're super frustrated with kids' schoolwork and it's like, I'm not a teacher. I don't know how to teach my children. I don't know like their math problems. They're doing math differently now than when I was in school. Or like, I don't know what these chemical equations are. I'm sorry, I can't help you with biology or chemistry class. Like whatever it is, not tech savvy people. It's just like, find other ways to use those opportunities as like, maybe this is a good time to like work with your kid in the kitchen, and like while you're preparing a meal, plenty of teaching opportunity of like, this is the sharp side of the knife. Like when we hand, like just silly things like that like don't sound like things that they would learn in school, but like wonderful learning opportunities. Plus, kind of similar to what we talked about before, like just enjoy your time that you have with your kids. Like this might be an opportunity that you don't get ever. Like, hopefully we never have to experience this again, but it's just, if you take the 20 seconds to like find the positive of the situation you're in, even at surface level, it might be like, this sucks. Like, this is really shitty. Allow it to be shitty. It's okay. Like, it's okay to struggle. You're allowed to do that. You are human. Nobody has the expectation of you to be a superhero, so don't set that expectation for yourself. You know? Like, it's okay to struggle. In those times of struggle, when we are tried and we are challenged and we are faced with adversity, what you do with that is completely up to you. You have that choice. If you want to succumb to it and roll over and let it kick you in the face, you're allowed to do that. If you think about that and you're like, I don't want that to be how I handle it, then handle it differently. Are you going to get it right every single time? No. But you allow yourself to try it, like try a new thing. When you're faced with that adversity, or when you try a new way of problem solving, or you try a new experience, or it's like, okay, you know what, maybe things are just going to look a little bit differently right now, allow yourself a moment to just reflect on it. And it's like, am I happy with this? Is this how I want this to look? Is it moving me in the direction that I want to go? Just like, those self-reflection questions are far more powerful than I think people think. And even doing that in itself is a complete, like, a new skill for people. Because we're not so much, like, if it's not something that you regularly do to like check in with yourself, like, hey Sabrina, how are you doing today? Like, people don't tend to do that. So allowing yourself to do that, creating some space for that, giving yourself time to do that, I think you can learn a lot about yourself. And so I guess that's where my advice comes from, is just because that's something that I have personally had to learn. It's just kind of let go of expectations and just allow myself to just be whatever that may be. And I still struggle with it. Just the other week I had a counseling appointment and I was like, I don't feel like I feel how I should feel. And he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, it just, not even like comparing myself to other people and how other people feel. It's just like, I'm having these feelings about this situation and I just don't know if they're right. And he's like, what makes them right? What makes them right or wrong? And so then, like, it gives you the opportunity to get a little bit deep into conversation, but it's not so much of like how you feel. None of it's ever right or wrong. It just is. How you feel is how you feel. Feelings are just that. They are meant to be felt. So if something, like, if there's a thought, if there's a feeling, if there's an emotion, if there, like, however your body responds to those things, that's your way of expression. And like, that's okay. Whatever that is, you just need to allow it. Because if you're trying to fight it, like, essentially you're fighting yourself. And when you're fighting yourself, you're going against it. Maybe we're not open to what it's trying to teach us. Like, you don't know those things until you look at them, until you're willing to learn about them, until you're willing to participate with them rather than against them. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's just, especially in moments like this when you are faced with challenges and you are put in situations that literally you've never been in before, nor do we have the advice to seek out from anybody that's ever been in this situation before. Just let yourself experience it. Let yourself be with it.
Well, thank you so much. That was awesome. I love
You're
that.
welcome. I just rambled and word
No,
vomit.
that's totally fine. You can ramble as much as you want. Now, if someone would like to reach out or ask you some questions or just like to see your fitness, where can people find you, Sabrina?
Well,
Have you deleted? Did you delete all social media again?
No, I haven't deleted it. I just haven't logged on to it. Yeah. So like in this journey that I've been on, it was best for me at the time to just step away from those things because it wasn't putting me in a healthy place. So
Okay.
when I looked at the direction that I wanted to go, like, I wanted to move towards happy, hungry, and healthy. in defining those things. Like they all kind of have their own little subset, but it's like I have this idea of what I want my life to look like, and I'm continuously moving towards that idea. And especially, when you had this like picture painted of what you thought your life was going to look like, and then like literally that painting was like put through the shredder. It's a whirlwind. Like you think that you want something and it's like, okay, well, that's not happening anymore. So now what? And figuring that out's really hard. It's so challenging. So with that specific point in my life, I realized I was obsessing about like what was on Facebook, like who I was talking to, who I was interacting with. And I realize now, hindsight's 2020, that I have so many like positive influences and just lights of people in my life that like I miss those connections so much. And like social media makes it so easy. It's far more accessible to get in touch with people via Facebook, via Instagram. It's so easy to reach out to people that way. But in those trials and struggles, I would go down the negative rabbit holes rather than climbing up the positive rabbit hole. I don't know, whatever, like moving the other direction. So I just took away that temptation for myself. So feel free to reach out on Facebook and on Instagram. It might be a little bit before I get back to you, but Facebook Messenger still works. I'm on Snapchat. And yeah, like if you know anybody that knows me, I'm happily willing to like talk, chit chat, be open. Just taking a little break from the social media right now. And honestly, Daniel, like through all this, I sincerely think that it's like severely just helped my lack of anxiety, because like I don't want to say ignorance is bliss around like all the COVID stuff, but like I'll come to work and people are like, did you hear about all these new cases and this person, this and this person? And I'm like, nope, sure didn't. Like I'm good with that. It's fine. I'm still living my life. I'm still doing my thing. I like COVID, no COVID. I try to always be respectful of people. I'm not going to tell anybody how they need to live their life. But it's just when you hear all those negative things all the time, like we are what we see, we are what we hear, we are what we talk about, we are who we surround ourselves with. So I'm just choosing not to have all of those negative things flooding my mind. And it's awesome. It's so great.
Yeah,
so
I love it.
Hopefully someday I'll be back on the social medias, but for now, I'm taking a little break.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Sabrina.
Absolutely. Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.